Whoa, buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Here's my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
That one day a week that we love to talk about and bring on board and look forward to and chat. It is Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station, and or FM translator, and live around the world on the interwebs at michaeldukeshow.com, because that's how we do it. Anyway, I'm still trying to wake up, man. I was a little late this morning trying to get everything squared away, and we are ready to go. We have got a Whiz Bang show here, Whiz Bang show for today. In hour one, we're going to dive into it with Darwin Nercesian, who is the news field editor for Firearms News. And we're going to be talking about a bunch of different stuff, including some of the new reforms that the ATF put in place here just a couple weeks ago. He's got a new series out where he's starting to dissect all 34 of those different pieces and parts. We're going to get into that with him, plus some of his gun reviews and just kind of a general chat. I enjoy talking with Darwin, and just a general chat on the state of the gun community, the Second Amendment, the 2A space, I guess you should say, and more. In hour two, we're going to pick up with some headlines around the state, including some good news. There's a 30th state now that's considering constitutional carry. We've got the DOJ and Harmeet Dillon in there suing Colorado now over a new magazine weapons ban. We may finally get an investigation into the killing of Brian Malininsky out there in Arkansas, that tragedy as well, and more. Plus, we're going to finish up, of course, with Willie Waffle from who comes in for every week for our entertainment stream and movie review. All right, that's a lot. There's a lot of stuff going on. Good morning to you. 35 degrees here on top of the world in Homer, Alaska. A little cooler than it's been the last couple of days. I keep saying that summer's here, and it's one of those things. Did you do voices around the house when your kids were growing up? You could say that. I was all the voices in my head. I can never decide which one to listen to. That was always the problem. I could never do that. But one voice is telling me I should shut up and get over here and start talking to Darwin Nercesian, again from Firearms News. He joins us this morning. Been a few months since we've had him on the program, so I'm looking forward to talking with him and getting things started. Good morning, my friend. How's things in the world?
It's good. I'm actually waiting for summer to kick in here as well. Although I'm more of the fan of your 35 degree weather than I am of the sort of hot, humid summers here in Ohio. But yeah, everything's good. How are you? Just keeping busy, staying out of trouble. How about you?
Yeah, and like I said, we are experiencing here the winter that will never end. That is what we've had going on here. We've had one of the coldest winters, the coldest and longest spring, wettest spring. And we're ready for summer, man. It's May, we're just ready for summer to kickstart somewhere along the lines here. No, we can't put the plants out, can't do anything else. It's just one of those things. But hey, it's Firearms Friday. All we can do is jump into it with both feet and at least talk about something that we enjoy here this morning.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of the frigid weather, I actually my review on the auto ordnance Thompson TAO 50, so 50 BMG sniper rifle, was on the cover of I think it's April's issue of Firearms News magazine, and you'll notice if you check it out online or in the magazine, I shot that in about 22-degree weather with everything covered in snow. We took it out to a mile actually, and there's a few funny moments in the review where I complain about how cold it is and how much a 50 cal with a very effective muzzle brake can sort of beat up on you. And then, I stop my whining and recognize the fact that my friends hate me because I, do what I do for a living. So I shouldn't complain.
22 degrees above zero. Darwin.
Yeah.
Dem rookie numbers, brother. The Dem's rookie numbers, right?
I mean, it was cold,
I remember doing one community shoot. I remember doing one community shoot at about 5 degrees. We've gone out shooting at 5, 10 below. We've gone out and done some shooting sometimes. 22 Dems rookie numbers. So it's all good. All right, Darwin. Well, let's get into this. First and foremost, I want an overview of your thoughts on the the newly, I don't know, it's not reformed, but the new rules, 34 rules that ATF put out at the end of April that kind of took the whole world by storm. Like, that we knew something was coming. We weren't sure what it was. It came out. And so the first and foremost, there's some good news, but maybe we're greedy. I don't know. Maybe we want just more good news, but give me your thoughts here on overall on the Trump administration's grading score on this new 34-point change to the various rules inside the ATF.
For me it's mostly a nothing burger, and I know some people will be upset about that. I'm not going through the rules in any particular order. Well, I guess if I were to pick a particular order, it would be along the lines of things I think I think people should know about as soon as possible. So the first thing I picked was the pistol brace issue. The DOJ is coming out and ATF's coming out and saying, well, we're getting rid of the pistol brace rule. But that's, and people want to celebrate that. That's a big nothing. That was already litigated. The rule was shot down in court over the ATF's violation of the Administrative Procedures Act. And then once they lost the case, they essentially told, they in writing, they told the court that they plan on enforcing the principles of that pistol brace rule. And they always planned on enforcing those regardless of the outcome of the court case, because they can do so under their regulatory authority without that rule in place. So, and it was really upsetting to read that in the court documents, because, in 2023, Trump made had a speech where he said he's going to rip that rule up and throw it out in his first week or even his first day in office. So, now they're saying, hey, great news, we're getting rid of this rule. Well, so what? The court already, vacated the rule, and you already said you're going to enforce it anyway. And the most disturbing part about that article is that they're saying, in certain cases. And when GOA asked, well, could you tell us in what cases you're going to enforce this rule? They said, well, we're not going to really do that until someone's indicted. So can you imagine, not knowing what?
Like, you don't have a regulation, you don't have a rule, nothing's in place. They decide to arrest you on some offense, and all of a sudden you're being charged with something that's not even a rule or a regular or anything else. And we've decided we don't like the cut of your jib, mister. So now we're going to prosecute you for this. I mean, to me, it's so astonishing to see the court comes down and says, you can't do this, it's illegal. And they're like, we're going to do it anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll kowtow to the letter of what you're saying, but we still have the authority we do what we want.
And I've been saying that, it's become, rule by what are you going to do about it? And what are we going to do about it? We're they use our tax money. They have unlimited funds because they take it from us to do these things to us, and then we have to spend our own money to fight them while they spend a limitless amount of our money to fight us back. So I get it, rule by what are you going to do about it? But it's still, just because they can do it and beat us over the head with it doesn't mean it's not corrupt. And it's just plain wrong. We've gotten way too far from our Constitution.
When you look at it, I think you said nothing, Burger, in regards to these rules. I mean, there are some good things here. I mean, this is a step in the right direction, but really, in a lot of ways, as you read through and you look at a lot of these, it's more of a half step in the right direction, right? It gives us some good things, but it doesn't go nearly far enough on most things to make it. And your case in point with the pistol brace issue is just one of them. Like, well, we're gonna stop, but if we feel like it, we'll stop. It's not the full-throated roar that Trump promised. At election first day, like you said, he'll be the most pro-gun president, yada yada yada. Again, I appreciate the work that he's doing, but we're still not getting exactly what we were promised.
That's very true. And look, you're right. There are some things that are good, but even in those good things, if we're astute enough and read into them, we find out quickly that those good things, they reveal exactly what the government is not willing to do and how the government is not willing to comply with the Second Amendment or their own laws post Second Amendment. For instance, the second article I wrote about was the traveling with SBRs and SBSs and machine guns rule. Have you read into that one?
I've read into it a little bit, and I went through a big part of your article this morning.
Okay.
But I want to tackle that article in its entirety here in the next segment. But again, give me a grade. We're coming up on the break, so give me a grade overall on the 32 rules. I mean, again, I know you and I have had some issues with the president over some of the things that have happened. We've been a little vocal. We've been a little critical of it. But overall, A to F. Give me a grading score on this rule change that we have right now in front of us.
I'd give it a D minus. D is in Delta. Wow. D minus.
Wow. Okay. That was a little lower than I expected. I expected maybe like a C minus or something like that. But this isn't a
passing grade.
Yeah,
it is not in. And remember, everything's relative. When speaking to me, I'm a very strict constitutionalist. It's the plain text of the Constitution, the intended meaning of that plain text. That's what I go by. So when I go by that, I've got to give this a D minus. I think I'm being nice, giving them a D minus, to be honest with you, because I don't see anything here that says shall not be infringed. And until I see that, there's no passing grade.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only gun law that I really like to focus on is the shall not be infringed part. I mean, every other thing is like, okay, well, that infringes. C rule number one again, shall not be infringed, so I'm definitely with you on that. Darwin Nercesian from Firearms News is our guest. We're going to continue with him here in just a moment. The Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We're going to continue with more here in just a moment. We'll be back right after this. Don't forget, you can always check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Michael Dukes Show. If you want to be part of the program, we'd love to hear what you have to say. Come on out and be part of the crowd on Facebook or YouTube or Rumble. We'll be back with more right after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, we are in the commercial break. Darwin Nercesian, our guest here on the Michael Dukes Show, and I appreciate him coming on board. He was kind of a late notice ad to me, and I appreciate him responding to the call. Toby is in the chat room. Toby wanted to say hi. He's here to watch his boy Darwin. That's it. He's here to see I'm here to see my man Darwin. He's new to the channel. Welcome, Toby. Welcome. He says he's in Syracuse, New York. 47 degrees there. Man, again, them's rookie numbers, Toby. Come on. That's what it is. Anyway, we appreciate him joining us as well. And then he went and made me feel old, Darwin. He said, even though I wasn't born yet when 9/11 happened, I admit I'm still disappointed in the so-called Patriot Act and the constant surveillance on everything, and that we can't carry on planes anymore, etc. Not even born yet. I am so old. Holy cow. I remember when 9/11 happened, man. We were all driving. I'm watching. I didn't even know. I'm driving in and I'm like, why are the cars all going so slow? And I'm like, and I flicked on the radio, and that's when I heard what was going on. And man, the time that changed the world. That's for sure. It's pretty crazy. 22 degrees, doing your testing out in the snow. What was the verdict? I didn't happen to read that review. So what was the verdict?
So, the TAO 50 shot really, really well. Like I said, all 50 caliber BMGs ring my bell and give me a headache. But, the recoil on this one was surprisingly tame. And that's because it does have a brick, of a muzzle brake at the end. There was a little bit of tricky wind between the 1,000 yard. 1,000 yards, I made most of my shots. That's easy with the 50 cal. By the way, Firearms News gave me another title. I'm now the long range rifle field editor. So 1,000 yards was fairly easy. And then the tricky shots at a mile were because we had the targets on two different hills. So we had some updrafts and some weird wind. I think I made about half my, I took about 10 shots at the mile. I made half of them. The others were all, very, very close. It was on like an IPSC size target. So not bad for a mile. Overall, I think that it was, those are expensive rifles, but, typically with 50 cal, you want to spend money because each one of those rounds is like a grenade going off. So, you want to be safe behind that gun.
Yeah, you want to make sure they're stout. I had a 50 cal for a hot minute, and I remember shooting that was it was not a pleasant experience. It wasn't unpleasant, but it was definitely not something you'd want to spend a whole afternoon going through an entire can of cartridges for. Yeah. In fact, I remember I had at the time all I had to put on it was a fairly cheap optic, and after about 40 or 50 rounds, the optic just basically shook itself apart at that point. And I'm just like, okay, I could tell this is not going to be as fun as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's a big consideration. I borrowed the Vortex Gen 3 6-36 that's sitting behind me on my Barrett MRAD right now for that review. It is rated for 50 cal and it did a great job. And we were really lucky enough, and I can't thank Hornady enough because they make really the only available match BMG rounds, which is their 750 AMAX, and they sent out a good supply for that review. And that's one of the reasons why it turned out so well, because we were able to use really good match ammo. So never enough thanks for Hornady sending that out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When you're throwing $3, $4 around downrange, you start to, it starts to get a little crazy, and I'm sure the match stuff is even more expensive. Chris says, I have a 50 cal S&W. It's ridiculous. Well, the 50 cal S&W is ridiculous, but he's talking about 50 BMG Browning machine gun. They're taller than that. I mean, they're a good 6 inches long. So it really, really makes a mess when you're shooting it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I've had one. I don't have one anymore. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Let's jump back into it. Darwin Nercesian, our guest, The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
What the hell's an assault weapon?
You know, if we could just figure out how to get all of the murder guns and the attack guns and not keep selling those to people and just sell protection guns, I think that would be great and solve a lot of problems.
Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
Yeah, I mean, I always check the tags on my guns to make sure that they're only protection guns, right? I mean, Darwin, you've never bought a gun that was a murder gun, right? Had it on the tag right there. Murder gun, attack gun.
No, my guns have killed less people than Ted Kennedy's car. So, yeah.
which is true. True. Absolutely. Darwin Nercesian, our guest from Firearms News. And again, he got a promotion. This is what happens when you step up and do extra things. All of a sudden you you don't get a promotion, you just get extra titles and responsibilities. He's not only the news field editor for Firearms News, he's now the long range review?
Yeah, long range rifle field editor. So I'm gonna take on a lot of the the hunting rifles and the the long range tactical rifles, sniper rifles, things like that, coming up here in the future. In fact, I'm working on one I'm really excited about with Wilson Combat for straight wall hunting states, like Ohio, where I am right now, where we're limited to straight wall cartridges. So we're going to do something this upcoming hunting season with the 450 Bushmaster. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I'll be honest with you, Darwin. I've been covering stuff in the news, the Second Amendment queue for many, many years. I've never heard of a straight wall restriction. I didn't realize that was a thing. So you can't take your granddad's 30-06 and go out shooting because it's a necked cartridge, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is strange to me. I've never, I've lived here for, just for less than a year, and I've never lived in a state that limits you to straight wall cartridges. So this is new to me. And it's odd because, you look at some of the prominent, calibers for hunting and, 30-06, fantastic, 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, and all these extremely capable go-to calibers. You just can't use out here. You have to go straight wall or slugs. Some people are still using pistol calibers as well. So obviously, much larger bore, but yeah, it's totally new to me. And my editor-in-chief, who's fantastic to work with at Firearms News, he lives about 2 hours from me, and we're gonna do the hunting portion of that series together. And, he just wanted to do something with a semi-auto AR platform. And Wilson Combat said, yeah, we have a 450 Bushmaster. We've got a silencer for it. Let's do it. So, getting to work with Wilson Combat, that's pretty awesome. And Vortex is in on it as well. So it should be fun.
It just sounds fantastic. It just sounds fantastic. I can't wait, and I'm just still trying to figure out the whole why would it be a straight wall cartridge? Why would it matter? I guess if 4570, doesn't really, is it a size? Is it a power? I don't know. Anyway, interesting to see the justification behind that. But let's get back to what we were talking about, which was the ATF's new rules. You got your latest article out, which just came out just this last week, talking about the 34 rules. And this time you take on the transportation rule, which most people don't understand. I'll be honest with you. Most people don't understand the vagaries of the NFA because most people don't have any kind of NFA items for the most part. And you kind of break this down. So walk us through this right now. The transportation, the restrictions, the requirements, what it used to do, what it still does, what they say that it does, that it doesn't. Let's walk through this here.
Sure. So, standing law has it that and this doesn't count for suppressors. This is for short-barreled firearms, like short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, also machine guns, and AOWs, things like that. So standing law says that when you want to transport these across state lines, you need to file I think it's form 5320.20, and let the ATF know that you plan on, for instance, going to a shooting event in another state, or for whatever reason you're taking a trip and you're bringing an NFA firearm. You file that form, you wait for approval, then you can go. So that's always kind of cumbersome. What if you want to go last minute to an event? What if you change your mind and want to bring a different SBR to an event? It's just a cumbersome and ridiculous rule. Our permit to travel about with firearms is the Second Amendment. We don't need we don't need any other permission, but that's the law that they made. So now the new proposed rule, they want to make it so you no longer have to file that form 5320.20 in order to travel, as long as you're not traveling long term. So what they define that as is if you're leaving for less than a year, for less than 365 days, you can just go. You don't need to file the form. You don't need permission. You can just go and come back as long as you're back with that firearm within 365 days. So everyone is, really excited about that because it does make life easier. It's reasonable. It does make life easier. However, you have to look at what was not done here. They took the time to make this proposed rule, yet they didn't take the time to say, hey, listen, you don't even need this. They're still saying you have to let us know where you live. You have to be on this illegal registry. And this is not me saying it's illegal. Having a registry for gun owners, that was illegal since 1986 in the Firearms Owners Protection Act, and it was reiterated later on in the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act. So this is their own law, and they're violating it and keeping a registry. They could have gotten rid of the registry. Right. They could have said, hey, it doesn't matter, but they still want to know where those guns are.
Let's sidebar for a second, because that's an interesting point. And here's how they say here's how they get away with it. It's because it's not a firearms registry, it's a tax roll, right? That's what they say. It's not a firearms registry. This has nothing to do with firearms. This has everything to do with Congress's ability to tax. And so blah, 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 blah. But see, the problem is that with the one big beautiful bill and the repeal of the tax on a lot of these items, well, that's changed, because now you can't really claim that it's just a tax roll anymore. And and in fact, there's cases up right now that's going to because under the Selinsky decision in 1937 or whatever it was, when they challenged the NFA rule, they said that's what their argument was. Well, it's a tax. It has nothing to do with guns. This has everything to do with our authority to tax. Now they've taken the tax away. That authority has vanished. And their ability to hold that list should be, there's court cases going on right now.
Yeah, that's true. And I cover those court cases, the big, beautiful lawsuit by Silencer Shop Foundation, Palmetto State Armory, FRAC, B&T, a lot of these guys, they filed that lawsuit on the day the big, beautiful bill was signed on the 4th of July. But the Trump administration and the DOJ is fighting. They're fighting against it. They are contesting the lawsuit and defending the NFA, which is absolutely not something a pro-First or pro-Second Amendment president would do. So that's very disappointing. And the other thing with Sonzinski is so they're saying Congress has the power to tax, but Congress does not have the authority to tax you out of your rights. Okay, so let's take Congress's power to tax and apply it to the First Amendment, telling us what we can and can't say unless we file for a tax stamp and get approval. Everyone would be up in arms. They would say this is a clear violation of the First Amendment. Well, it can't be a violation of the First Amendment if it's not a violation of the Second Amendment. How do we reconcile that? Okay, people are getting the wool pulled over their eyes. There is no power to tax you out of your rights. This is the Second Amendment. So the whole thing was corrupt, and and the Supreme Court was in on it back in the day with Sonzinski, and now we're stuck with all these laws. And look, making it more convenient for us to travel with these NFA items, okay, great. But when you look at in context of what they could have done that would have been in compliance with the Second Amendment, you realize, I think I say in my article, that's not rain hitting your back.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we've talked a lot about that, the fact that they're trying to tax us out of our rights. If you go back to the original, and the fact that it's not a tax, that it's a punitive tax. I mean, the first NFA item and US v. Miller, I mean, the first court case on that, I mean, they were charging him $200, which today doesn't sound like a lot, $200 for a $5 shotgun. So a 40x tax, 4 times whatever you paid for it, it would be 4 times the thing. You want to use your phone to post to X, you got to pay 4 times the cost of that phone to get a license to be able to post to X, or any other rule. Like you said, you're using we like to call that the substitution rule around here. Just substitute the Second Amendment for any other right and see how that would fly. And that's been part of the problem. And again, the other thing that you brought up that I think is interesting and and bluntly part of the bigger issue here is they sign the one big beautiful bill. They create the Office of the Second Amendment, rights. They put forward the executive order. The administration does all these things. And then when somebody says, okay, well, you've taken that away, now we're going to file a suit to say that this is no longer legal, they're still going to defend the old things that they said that were bad. Yeah, that's the conundrum here. That's where people are getting confused.
Yeah. And during the process when the Senate had the big beautiful bill and they were dealing with the whole parliamentarian mess, I argued with John Thune's office in DC about this, and I might have even posted some of their emails in one of my articles because I was so angry with them. They could have gotten in the way of the parliamentarian. They could have overruled or dismissed the parliamentarian. J.D. Vance could have done it as well. No one did it. And the defenders of this administration, we're all like, well, now they're removing the monetary part of the transaction. So they're opening it up for us to file this lawsuit, and Trump is playing 3D chess again, or 4D chess, or 5D chess, whatever he's doing. It's excuse after excuse after excuse. With no results. And even that $0 tax stamp, what do you think is going to happen like the next time the Democrats are in charge of a reconciliation bill? Is that going to end up coming back? Is it going to end up being a $1,000 tax stamp? Who knows? Because we are not, I don't even think we should file lawsuits to correct everything that's wrong. I think we need to make offending the Constitution illegal, punishable by, a pair of shiny handcuffs. And a perp walk, because it's just gone too far. And I know that sounds like super crazy, but why is it crazy? We've had a constitution for many, many years. Why? I'm just saying, let's follow it, and there should be consequences for not.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's been my fear since the passage of the bill and the removal of the taxes. I was like, okay, that's great. What happens when the other team gets back into office and they decide to bring it back? Because the tax stamp cost had not been raised since the law had been enacted. The tax stamp, I mean, we're talking almost 100 years. It hadn't been raised. A Sears and Roebuck shotgun was $5. The tax was $200. Now a shotgun is $500. What's the new tax going to be? You know, and is it going to be $10,000? For a $500 shotgun? That's what we're talking about here, and that's always the thing that makes me fearful. So good news on the transportation law in the fact that it removes the responsibility to file. But the question is, why didn't they just repeal the whole thing then at that point? Why didn't they just take it off the books completely?
Because it allows these things to ebb and flow with the political tide without causing too much of a stir. At the end of the day, the people in power, they understand, I look past the whole playing dumb. They understand what the Second Amendment is there for. And they, instead of seeing it as, a natural right recognized by the Constitution, they see it as a threat to their power. If they were working on the side of the people, they would never see the people as a threat, armed or not. So that gives you a little insight, I think, into the psychology of, honestly, for tyrants. That's the psychology of tyrants right there. And when you look at, I'm writing an article on the Appleseed Project, which is a really great way to spend a weekend, shooting and learning marksmanship. And one of the things I found so fascinating about that organization is that they focus heavily on the Battle of Lexington and Concord, and teaching people our heritage,
Right.
why we, gained our independence from the British, why that Lexington and Concord was so important, and essentially how American marksmanship is the basis for the freedom that we're supposed to have today.
Right, right. No, we've often opined on the program that, the shot heard around the world, the Revolutionary War, that shot heard around the world was ultimately, I know we talk about the tea in the harbor and the tax on mail, the Stamp Act, all that kind of stuff, but really the final straw was gun control, because the British were marching on the magazine at Lexington and Concord to seize the magazine from the people. The magazine held the powder and shot for their rifles and their firearms. And so ultimately the Revolutionary War kicked off over gun control. That's really what it was about when you look at it. And it is,
which makes any of these politicians, whether they're on the right or on the left, it makes them nothing more than a modern day redcoat, in my opinion. For what it's worth.
You can make that argument, and I agree with it. And again, you're 100% right that the reason that they want to take those rights away is because they believe that they know better than you how you should run your life. How you should raise your kids, spend your money, do whatever. They know better than you, and anything that you could do to push back on that is a threat. And having an armed society is a threat to their egos, to their overall plans. That's what it's all about. All right, Darwin Nercesian is our guest. We're going to continue here. We got one more segment with him coming up, and when we get back, we'll just free range it here. Whatever we want to talk about, maybe he wants to give us some final thoughts on the new rules or anything new that he's working on. Maybe the state of the union in the Second Amendment, from a Second Amendment perspective. We'll see what he has to say. Darwin Nercesian from Firearms News. Back with more, The Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Dukes Show.
Okay, we're in the break right now. Darwin Nercesian, our guest. We owe a lot of debt to the Kentucky squirrel hunters. They weren't just hunting squirrels, but I get your point. We owe. There's a lot. There's a lot that we could be said about that. Frank says, "What about when all the firearms are sold? What about when all firearms are sold will require a suppressor?" I mean, I'm okay with that. There are some places in Scandinavia where that is a requirement. If you have one, some places in Scandinavia where you can go into a hardware store and pick up a suppressor over the counter. It's a safety device, just like anything else. I think I think that's a great idea, Darwin.
Yeah. Honestly, I live with 24/7, 365 days a year, emergency alert tone in my ears. In the quietest place on earth, I will never hear the sound of silence. My tinnitus is horrible. I've always believed that the ATF's regulation of suppressors violates the Americans with Disabilities Act, because it delays or makes you ask permission to have a safety device to protect your hearing. I've had that discussion with the ATF actually at SHOT Show on a few occasions, and they said, "Well, you don't have to shoot guns." I said, "Well, you don't have to eat at that restaurant either, but they still have to build a ramp if you're in for people in a wheelchair." So and that's typically where the argument stops, because again, you replace one thing with another and see how fair it is, and ultimately,
Yeah, they have no words to fill the gap there.
yeah. So, it just goes to show that they're not really as intelligent or as defensible as as the words they put on paper. So, that's unfortunate. But I agree. Aside from things that I have to shoot unsuppressed, I shoot everything suppressed, from pistols to rifles, just to protect my hearing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Toby says, I'm curious, Darwin, have you ever fired rifles like the Remington R5 or the G28, the Armalite platforms?
The G28, yes on both. It's been a while for either. So I don't really have, I think, that qualified an opinion on them right now. But I was actually just talking to someone over at Armalite the other day, and they're doing a whole new push on on their rifle series, on their AR series, because they want to address the fact that people don't know that AR stands for Armalite, 15, not, assault
Right.
rifle or whatever other people think. I thought that was cool, to get that knowledge back out there, so people understand
Yeah.
what it really stands for.
Armalite rifle, AR, Armalite rifle.
Yep.
That's what it stands for. Brian says, Darwin, do you follow gun tubers? If so, who?
I do. I'm friends with a lot of gun tubers, and there's guys that I don't really know, but I'm a huge fan of. Mike over at Grantham is great. I love the other Mike, Mr. Guns and Gear. He does a great job. Brandon Herrera, we've spoken on multiple occasions. I did an article on the AK-50 that he built, and did an interview with him. He's always just a ton of fun. I like him. Honest Outlaw. That guy, I think he's a great gun reviewer. I think he lives up to the name. He's a pretty honest guy. Tells you when something's good or not good. Let's see who else. American Outlaw. That's a great channel. Sometimes 110 SAS. I do like a lot of the stuff that he does. In fact, I reviewed some under $500 LPVOs at the same time he was doing a video series on that, and we actually came to the same conclusion. I think his content is great. I sometimes, just the other day, 9-hole reviews. I really like watching those guys. I love long range stuff, so that really appeals to me. I'm gonna miss a bunch here, and I'm gonna feel bad later that I did. Because I really do. I like gun tubers a lot.
Yeah, no, I can go if I have to kind of steer away from it, especially during the day, because if I'm working or something and somebody drops me a link, and the next thing you know, I'm watching Grand Thumb or Demolition Ranch or any of these guys, and all of a sudden, it's an hour and a half later, and I've been down, or Brandon Herrera's his Darwin
gun
Award.
Meme?
Yeah, gun meme. The Darwin Award gun memes.
Yeah.
If I start watching that, I just start. It'll just suck you in. It's amazing. There's a lot of great gun tubers out there, and now especially
John Patton too at the Gun Collective. I really, people should follow him for his gun use. I really like John Patton a lot.
Yeah. So there's a lot of great news out there, and now that they've got Pepperbox TV. That's the new, for those that are getting scrambled on YouTube and getting slammed down and shadow banned on YouTube, Pepperbox, I know, is an alternative to that as well. So Pepperbox TV.
Yeah. And you can watch Donut Operator uncensored on Pepperbox, which is really nice because you get some pretty cool content that you can't see on YouTube.
Yep. It's good stuff. All right. We're about 10 seconds out right now. You can see the timer counting down. We are ready to go. Darwin Nercesian, our guest, The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
He's strapped and taking aim. You might want to take cover, not behind those exploding barrels. The Michael Duke Show.
I mean, it's always bugged me. You're watching the movie, good guy's ducking down behind cover, and right next to him is a big gas cylinder. And all I can think of is, dude, it's explosive. It's all like, I mean, it just ruins my immersion. Maybe I should consult on some of these movies. No. Don't stand. That's cover. That's concealment. And that's explosive. Please don't stand near that. Darwin Nercesian is our guest here on the program. One final segment with him here. And I told him we kind of just, free range it here and kind of go over it. So Darwin, dealer's choice here. I mean, scoring the president, state of the Second Amendment, the final thoughts on the 34 new rules. I mean, where do you want to go? Give me your final thoughts here and then tell me what you're working on next.
There's a big issue that I want to address when it comes to the president, and that is, okay, so just up front, I voted for President Trump 3 times. Okay, if I had to go back and have the choice between President Trump and Kamala Harris again, or Biden or Obama or whoever, I'm voting for Trump again. Okay. But the issue is, whenever I talk about these things in an article or, anywhere else online, you get people saying, oh, so you wanted Kamala, or you would vote for Kamala. No, don't be stupid. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. I supported Trump. I'll support any president because I want the country to do well. This is, that's as plain as that. But we cannot tie our self-esteem to our voting choices the way we do, and then take this person that we, put our vote and our trust behind and make excuses for them. We have to be able to both vote for somebody and also hold their feet to the fire, to keep their promises and to maintain their oath of office, and which the most important part is defending the Constitution of the United States of America, defending the rights of American citizens. So you can love a candidate, you can vote for a candidate, you can contribute to a candidate's campaign, you can do all that stuff, but don't be afraid to hold their feet to the fire and make them do the things that they promise. Don't be able to hold their feet to, don't have an issue holding their feet to the fire over issues of American rights. We have to do that. Otherwise, you know what they end up doing? They end up doing the same thing that Trump's doing now, which is making promises, securing your vote, getting into the Oval Office, and doing exactly the opposite. Okay, not keeping those promises because he knows you're going to make excuses for him. When we stop making excuses for him, and we absolutely destroy their legacy, if they don't do what's right, if they don't do what we voted them in for, then they have to think twice. And maybe then that'll open us up to candidates who aren't just part of the political theater on the right or on the left, candidates who actually want to serve this country.
Right. No, we've got to call the balls and the strikes, right? You got to call a spade a spade. If they're doing the right thing, they get lauded. If they're doing the wrong thing, they get chastised. That's how you correct the course, whether they're your guy or not. Now, I didn't vote for Trump 3 times. I only voted for him in the last election. I'm a libertarian, so I mean, a couple times I was able to feel good about my vote for the libertarian. But overall, I find that dichotomous choice of, well, if you don't like the president, then you must have liked Kamala or you must have liked Biden. This is not a suicide pact. This is not a one-on-one choice. If the guy that you voted for or the gal that you vote for in office does something that you disagree with, you can't just go, well, I'd complain, but I voted for him, so I guess I just won't complain.
Yeah.
Right?
And I see people do this with their consumer product, choices as well. Someone buys something and a reviewer, for instance, even if they say 10 good things about it, the 2 things they complain about, people get mad and say, hey, no, this product is perfect. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Why? Because if it isn't, then, your self-esteem is offended because you put your hard-earned money behind it. No, it doesn't work that way. So we really got to watch what we, where we place our self-esteem and make really dumb arguments.
Well, this is what happens when we derive our identity from our political bent, right? I mean, when that's our whole identity, when our whole identities are wrapped up in the party that we support or the candidate that we support or anything else, you can't be objective. I mean, has not been a perfect thing ever built, constructed, lived, existed on this planet, right? And so if you say, I really like this, but this is wrong or that's wrong, that's just the truth. And the problem is that when people can't handle the truth in that way, and to agree to say, well, maybe you're wrong, but nothing's perfect. And it just frustrates me when I give the president's kudos when kudos are due. Great. Setting up the office of the Second Amendment, putting Harmeet Dillon in there, who in everything that I've seen is a ride or die, kind of Second Amendment person. That's great. But that's just one thing. What about the other things? That does not absolve you of the responsibility of fulfilling the other promises that you gave us.
Yeah. And pivoting to something a little bit more fun, but along the same lines, gun reviews. I write a lot of gun reviews, and guns are never perfect. You can't really get into a gun that does everything and does it perfectly. However, we're kind of fortunate to live in a time where most of the guns out there, even the ones that come at a bargain, the technology's just been around long enough that we're pretty fortunate to have some really great options out there for handguns, shotguns, rifles, bolt action rifles. So it's a really fun time to be around firearms and get to play with all these things. It's the best part of my job.
We got about 90 seconds left, Darwin. What else are you working on right now? You got anything in the wings you want to tease for us that you're going to be dropping here soon?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm working with Sig Sauer on their new P365 Fuse TAC Ops. That's coming in for review. I think that's going to be a ton of fun. A lot of great suppressors are coming out, obviously, with the zero tax stamp. That's been a big thing. It was pretty much the theme of SHOT Show this year. I'm really excited. I'm going to be doing a bolt action rifle with Outlier, and they've got these backdraft barrels that a really cool technology. It actually won an award this last year where the barrel is actually shrouded with a carbon fiber sleeve, and when you attach the suppressor, it seals it and uses the carbon fiber sleeve along the entire length of the barrel as an expansion chamber for your gases, making for a very quiet rifle with a very small suppressor. That's some really cool technology. I'm really looking forward to review. Just tons of stuff coming in, including that Wilson Combat AR in 450 Bushmaster for straight wall hunting. Yep. A ton of fun. And look for Be Ready magazine. It's under Firearms News Magazine, and it's our annual book. And I am reviewing a new BCM rifle that is currently unreleased. It's okay. It may be right behind me. Oops.
We won't say anything. Darwin Nercesian, firearmnews.com. Folks, we're out of time. We'll see you in the hour. Sorry about that, Darwin. I was up against the thing. Frank, of course, criticized. We were just talking about calling the president out, and he says, "But you keep calling the same foul every week." Yes, Frank, I do, because until he changes it, I'm going to call out the same thing that he's doing and continuing to do until he changes it. You may be tired of hearing about it. You may be tired of hearing about me griping about his broken promises. But until he changes those, what else am I supposed to gripe about? Right? Again, I give him kudos.
What kind of argument is that? I don't get it. Like it doesn't make any sense. He keeps pushing against guns, against his promises. We keep pushing back on it. Or what we're only supposed to push back once, and then from then on let him keep doing it. But because we've already said it once,
mention it, shut up, and move on. No. I'm gonna keep bitching about it until it gets fixed. And again, I give the president kudos. I was talking about it last week that when this came out, I said this is a good move. The acting AG, Todd, forgotten his last name. There's been some interesting things there. Now we've got Cicada in the ATF, and he looks like he's going to be doing some things that are in the positive vein. Does it go as far as I want? No, but those are all good things that the president's done. But it's the things that he's not done that are sticking in my craw. right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. Look, like we said throughout the segment, we have to hold our politicians' feet to the fire, whether we voted for them or not.
Right.
And we can't stop because, and I'm going to kind of encourage people now that I'm writing this article on the Appleseed Project. And it's really inspired me to go back into my, American history and read about it. I mean, look, there was a time where Americans trusted each other and Americans were trusted by, a very limited government to have firearms, and that trust led us to our independence. When we go the opposite way, we're going to get the opposite of independence, and we're going to get the opposite of freedom. And trust me, you don't want that, because even if you're one of the people who supports the tyranny, let's face it, there is no seat for you at the table. You will also suffer at the hands of the bad policies that you usher in.
Yeah, absolutely. And those that fail to learn the lessons of history are doomed to repeat it. We have to go back and look at where we came from and understand what's going on. And try, I would try to move back to that times of smaller, more limited government where we were the power and we were trusted to have, the weapons of war or whatever else, words that they want to use out there for it. Yeah. So it's great stuff. Darwin, you do some great writing, my friend. I really appreciate you coming on board. I look forward to seeing your next piece come out, and we hope you have a great spring into summer. All right.
All right, Michael. Great to see you. Always great to talk to you. You have a great weekend.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Darwin Nercesian, our guest here on the program for Firearms Friday. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. And I'm not yelling at you, Frank. I'm just like, look, it just, we got to keep calling the balls and strikes. We got to keep calling a spade a spade. We give them the kudos when they deserve the kudos. And when they don't deserve the kudos, we call them out. That's what's supposed to happen there, my friend. That's how it's supposed to work. All right. What else we got going on here? Let's see. I'm scrolling backwards. Frank also said, it sounds like if something like suppressors were mandatory on new guns sold would be good for safety. Then would you agree that if technology supported safety, you would support things like fingerprint ID on your firearm? Well, if fingerprint ID on the firearm was as reliable as a suppressor, I wouldn't want to mandate. In fact, I wouldn't even want to mandate for suppressors. I just want them to recognize that. I just want them to recognize that they're a safety device and that they should be included with all firearms. Not a mandatory thing. I don't want a mandatory anything. But again, you can't show me a technology like fingerprint ID, like biometric, whatever. How many times you've all got a phone, right? You've all got your phone, and on your phone, you could see it right there, that little tiny thing that is your fingerprint, right? That's how you open your phone. How many times during the day when you go to open your phone, do you have to fiddle faddle with the, unless you got, Face ID or Face Rec or whatever? How many times have you had to fiddle faddle to get your phone open? Right? A suppressor is pretty solid technology. It's been around for over 100 years. It's been improved, but it works, almost every time. I mean, with the exception of some kind of malfunction and everything else. But again, a fingerprint ID on your firearm and everything else. Do I have time when my life is on the line to fiddle faddle around with making sure that it reads my fingerprints correctly? Right? I mean, if it was a perfect technology, then yeah, maybe I'd consider having it on some of my firearms just for the protection to make sure I don't lose it and not able to get it together. But otherwise, no, I don't want a mandated gun safety, whatever. I mean, how many of you have bought new firearms with the cable in the lock and then just thrown the cable in the lock in a box or in a drawer because you never use it? All it does is increase the cost of the firearm. If you're not, again, This shouldn't be mandatory, man. Shouldn't be mandatory. All right, we got to go. Yeah, have to wait on a software up-to-date for your trigger to unlock. Exactly. All right, we got to go.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed. All times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
Order to bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Take my rifle, this is my gun. This is for fighting, it's for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this your favorite radio station and or FM translator, and live around the world on the interwebs at michaeldukeshow.com. Hello, my friends, and welcome to hour 2 of the big radio broadcast. We are about ready to get into it and jump into some headlines. We just finished up with Darwin Nercesian, Darwin Nercesian from Firearms News. Had a great conversation with him about things in the state of the state and what's going on, to come on board and talk about things. Hold on one second here. Let me just okay, there we go. Whoops. You know what? I have a hard time. I am horrible at talking and typing at the same time. That's part of my problem here. Okay, we're ready to get into it in hour 2. I do have some headlines, and I am going to go ahead and open up the phone lines for those who want to participate here and join in this morning. Maybe Fred's calling in from Rhode Island. Maybe Toby from New York. Toby was just in the chat room watching us with Darwin. Or maybe Dick wants to call in and to talk about things with us here. We're going to put up the phone lines for the first couple segments of the hour here, just in case there's something related to the Second Amendment that you want to talk about. I want to kind of expound on it. I was just talking about it here during the break leading up into the top of the hour here. So I want to talk about this real quick. So let me set it up, and then I've got a phone call already. So we're going to get to the phones here in just a second. But let me go back to what to a question that Frank had. So he set it up with, and Frank does this a lot. He sets up the question, and then he tries to zing you with something. Not zing, he's trying to make us think, right? Frank asked a question. He said what about when all firearms are sold with what about when all firearms sold will require a suppressor? What about when that happens? If that happens, I think a suppressor, a silencer, if you will, is a safety device. And I think that it should be encouraged. That I don't know if it's required. I don't like the whole requirement thing, but if it is encouraged and maybe it's included. Maybe some manufacturers include a suppressor for an additional charge or something. I think that's a great idea. Again, Darwin was just talking about his tinnitus and how he has permanent tinnitus, and that's just a safety. That's just a safety feature. He shoots everything suppressed. I think that's a great idea, and that's what we said to Frank. And then Frank said, "It sounds like if something like suppressors were mandatory on new guns sold, it would be good for safety." Then would you? But they are two separate things. You've got a proven technology like a suppressor that's been around for over 100 years, right? It's been around since 1916 or something was the patent when Maxim filed his first patent for a silencer, what he called Maxim silence, your DNA or whatever it has to do on your firearm, rendering it inoperable if it doesn't work. Okay. So anyway, I want to dive down deeper into that here in just a second, but I've got a phone call. Dick is on the line. Let's go over here and see what he has to say. Good morning, sir. What's on your mind?
Morning. How you doing?
Doing great. It's Friday, man. Can't get any better than that.
Well, that's true, and the sun's shining.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hey, I'm calling to talk to you about our gun show tomorrow at the Ninilchik Senior Center.
Absolutely. Tell me all about it, Dick. Tell me what's going on.
Well, it's a one-day show this year. It's our third annual, and it keeps getting better and better. We're going to open the doors at 9 o'clock in the morning. We have 27 tables with vendors this year, so it's going to be a pretty full house. Lots of different vendors. Even have in addition to the guns, we'll have somebody there with, I think, some knives again, and not to leave the domestic engineers out, but they're going to be there with a table selling their jams and jellies and stuff like that, so you can stock up for the winter.
Oh, it's a full complement of things to make everybody happy. You got something for mama, and you got something for you don't have to have a husband's chair, you don't have to have a wife's chair. Everybody gets something that they can find there that they like.
That's right. Chairs for the vendors only. Everybody else needs to keep walking around to look at everything that's in there.
Yeah.
We're going to be open from 9 until 5. We have our gun raffle that is going to take place. The drawing is going to be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Need not be present to win. We do still have a few tickets left. We're raffling. The first draw will be for a Smith & Wesson 1854 rifle. Second draw will be for a Ruger 1022. Third is going to be a very nice PSA Dagger 9mm pistol, and it comes with 10 17-round magazines.
10 magazines.
Then, fourth
wow.
place, yeah.
Wow.
And then fourth place is $300 cash. So if you win fourth place, you get $300. You can run around right quick and buy that rifle that you didn't get a chance to buy earlier.
Absolutely.
Tickets there. We still have some tickets available. We're selling a total of 500 tickets, and we have probably less than 100 left. They'll be available tomorrow at the gun show itself.
Yep.
And $20 a ticket. I think that's everything we need to know there.
But the show
The,
itself is free to enter. Is there an entry fee to get into the show, Dick?
we're calling it an honorable donation this year.
Okay, honorable donation. So drop a $10 bill on the door on the way in, and of course, all the proceeds that you guys are pulling together, that goes to help the senior center there in Nilchik, right?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. We it's one of our annual fundraising endeavors, and the last couple of years, it's been successful, and we're looking to just get bigger and better every year.
Well, I think that this sounds like fun. I mean, there's no better weekend than a weekend spent at a gun show. This one is Saturday only, 9 to 5 at Nilchik. It's at the senior center there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
And give us the address one more time there, Dick, so that folks know if they have to plug it into their phones or their Google machines. Where is the senior center on in Nilchik?
Gee, Christmas.
I know. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. You just know where it is instinctively. I know. But
I grew up here. When I was growing up, we went with mileposts.
Oh, right.
Milepost 120 or 148.
Right.
And when I went to school, went to college, went into the Army, got back here 15 years later, all of a sudden everybody had street names and
right.
I don't know where
where
avenue is,
where the streets are anymore. Well, luckily my Google foo is strong. It's at 66-265 Aspen Avenue in Nilchik. But all I did was Google the Nilchik Senior Center, and it gave me the address. So you should be able to find it out there.
Isn't technology great these days?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so
that's exactly where it is.
Yep. So Nilchik Gun Show, lots of parking. You guys going to have food there?
There is going to be there's going to be an outside vendor that's going to be selling their food. It's a barbecue outfit, so they're going to be selling pulled pork and other barbecued things and sandwiches. So
all right,
they've been around before, so they're really good.
All right. Well, that's going to be good. Then it's all out there at the Nilchik Senior Center. And of course, proceeds are all going to benefit the senior center itself. So again, bring your wallet, drop a $10 bill into the kitty on the way in as a donation, and or whatever you feel like. I mean, it could be more, could be a little less, whatever it is.
I'm going to throw out the $20 bill just because,
Yeah.
In the past 2 years, we've had a $15 entry fee.
Yeah.
First year we had a $15 entry fee. Last year, because of some snafus, we reverted to a honorable donation, and that resulted in a pretty good. Folks would come and they'd just drop a 20 in,
right,
instead of trying to
look for change.
Hidden $10 bill in their wallet. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, whatever you want to drop in the thing, it's an honorable donation. Yeah. So bring a hundo, $100 bill, drop it in there. It's all going to a good cause. That's it. That's all it is.
That's right.
And you get a chance to go out, hang out with a bunch of like-minded folks, see a bunch of good guns. There's some jams and crafts. There's food. And again, it's all going to benefit the Nilchik Senior Center. Sounds like a fantastic opportunity for the weekend. All right, Dick, anything else before we let you go?
I think that's about it.
Okay.
Just looking forward to seeing everybody there. And I did want to mention, I don't know if anybody's, if you're interested in guns, you got to be interested in this. But I have 3 or 4 museum quality pieces that I'm going to bring down at a Revolutionary War musket and a Civil War trapdoor and then I got a pistol also, a muzzle loading pistol. I'm going to just bring those down. They are not going to be for sale, but they're going to be to look and Google and awe.
Well, that's, sometimes that's how I go to a gun show. A lot of times I don't necessarily even go there to buy. I just want to go look and get all the eye candy, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Dick Hawkins with the Ninilchik Senior Center, thank you for coming on board and reminding us again of the 9 to 5 gun show at the Ninilchik Senior Center in Ninilchik. Thanks for coming out.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Appreciate your time.
All right. I appreciate you coming on board and joining us here this morning. That actually takes us right up to the break. And so I'll get back into Frank's comment and question. I'm not Frank has done us a service here. I want to talk about it. We're going to be back with that here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. You're home for Common Sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. It is Firearms Friday. And we'll be back right after this.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. We're gonna get into that, Rob. Don't get ahead of me. Rob's over here stealing my thunder on my favorite story of the week. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, require is the question. We'll get back to that, Frank. Don't grow weary in well doing there. Don't grow weary in well doing. Chris says he wants a new lock. Well, just hook up with Brian. Brian said he's got a whole tub full of them. I probably got a dozen of them sitting in a box somewhere. I might be able to find you one, Chris. We'll get you a new gun lock. Sure. I'm sure if you walked into any gun store in town and said, I really need one of them gun locks that come with, I'm sure that they would be happy to give you one. Because probably half the people buy a gun and throw it on the counter, and I don't need that on the way out the door. I want to know what's going on. David said, I fumble when opening my gun safe more when the coyote's in the front yard. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Under pressure, you want to just, I gotta fiddle faddle. I gotta mash 53 buttons. I gotta put my fingerprint down here. I gotta give blood. I gotta look into a retinal scanner. I got to give a stool sample. I got to do whatever it is to get my gun to work when all I want to be able to do is get my gun to work. Right? When seconds count, the biometric scan is only minutes away. That's what it's all about right there. Oh, I'm just scrolling backwards here to see what else is going on. Why have only 7 people liked this show? I mean, there's 30 or 40 of you here. 30, 31 plus the thing. And it's like 35 people here right now. Why don't you like me? Oh, I don't understand. I feel bad, man. I need a confidence boost. Can you help me? Can you hit the like button? Can you hit the love button or the smiley face or the mad face? I want somebody to be like, I'm so mad. I'm so mad at that Dukes guy. I hate that guy. I would actually feel good about that too. I would feel good about that if you just hated me. I hate you. At least it's a feeling. That's what it's all about. Oh, thanks, Frank. We'll put that. I forgot about that. I was going to mention that, and you have been kind enough to remind me of the Jonesville closure. We'll talk about that here. Yeah, I got a tub of those locks. Apparently, the ADF&G was giving them out at the sportsman show one year. Which, I mean, again, probably they collected them from everybody that worked there and like, hey, we'll just give these away. That sounds like a great idea. I mean, again, have any of you ever used one of the cable locks that comes with your firearm? I don't think I have ever used one. Ever. Frank says there should be a lifetime like button so I don't have to remember every weekday. Oh, come on. Is it that hard? Is it that hard? I mean, that just sounds like laziness to me, Frank. Come on. By the way, Frank, the locks, the brisket burgers, Frank gave me a care package when I was in Fairbanks, and it is delicious. So good. So good. Anyway, I'm eating my way through it slowly. But the brisket burgers, on point, my friend. Those were delicious. All right. We're 23 seconds out. We'll get back to this here, and we'll take Frank's commentary piece by piece, and we'll get back to it. There you go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. Let's get to it. 5 seconds out. Here we
What the hell's an assault weapon? What isn't? If I assault you with a penguin, doesn't that make it an assault weapon? Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
Okay. We are back. One final segment on firearms goodness here before we run the clock out. We got Willie Waffle coming up here at the end of the hour to do our weekend entertainment and streaming review. We were just talking about Frank, and again, I mean, I appreciate Frank bringing this up because I think that it's a good question. It's a good thought experiment. Okay. So again, he said, what about when all firearms that are sold will require a suppressor? And Darwin and I talked about, well, suppressors with firearms is a good thing. But the biggest part was the require. That's what Frank really wanted to hint on. Should there be a requirement that there's a suppressor? To my answer to that is no. I don't think so. Again, we should still have the freedom to do what we need to, what we want to do. I think, should it be encouraged? Should there be, I would see that. I mean, as a manufacturer, as a marketing tip, should they include the suppressor? Would that be a good thing? Absolutely. I think that would be a great idea. Then he said, it sounds like if something like suppressors were mandatory on new guns sold, it would be good for safety. Then would you agree that if technology supported safety, you'd support things like fingerprint ID on your firearms? No, again, the problem is the required and the mandatory, right? I don't want any of those things. If somebody wants to trust their life to, let's talk about suppressors and the technology. You've got suppressor technology, and then you've got, I guess, biometric technology, fingerprints, IDs, spit, sweat, DNA, finger, clicking lock, whatever they're doing. The technology for a suppressor is pretty straightforward, literally straightforward. It screws onto the end of the barrel. It goes through. It's foolproof, right? The technology for the fingerprint ID, for the biometrics, for the, whatever, having the ring, the guy, you got to wear the ring that talks to your gun so that the gun will unlock. You know what I mean? I mean, all these different technologies that they tried. The problem is that it's technology. I was just talking about my phone. You guys have got your phones, right? And some of you have facial recognition, enabled. Some of you, like me, have like the fingerprint thing enabled. And I can't tell you how many times during the day that I go to open my phone and I got to kind of wiggle my finger around to find the right spot to make sure that it's actually reading and I got to use the right finger, right? I got to use the right thumb I don't want my life to depend on technology. What if it has to do an update in the middle of nothing worse than picking up my phone and figuring out that it's in the middle of an update that I kept denying because I was busy. And then I pick up my phone and it's in the middle of doing the update that I denied 4 or 5 times. What if you were in a, that's what it comes down to. Should there be things that are mandatory? No. The mandatory and required. There's, sure. He said simple safety buttons or levers that are mandatory also fail. Okay, I want it to be the lowest possibility of failure out there. Adding technology, especially delicate circuit boarded transistor circuit boards, technology to a bucking firearm, right? That you shoot all the time and goes through the shock and everything else. I mean, I just don't want to have to depend on that. So no, I don't believe that those should be mandatory. I do not believe that should be mandatory at all. I think it's an interesting technology. Would I have it on some of my firearms if it was sturdy and available and pretty reliable? Maybe on a firearm that I left laying around or, was out in the open or something like that I wanted access to faster than going into a gun safe. Would I use it as a daily carry? Absolutely not. Again, I want it to be as simple and straightforward and reliable as possible. The technology is just not there yet. It's just not there. And I'm not going to bet my life on whether or not my phone gets an update or my phone recognizes my face or my phone recognizes my fingerprints. I wouldn't bet my life on that. Yeah, John just said, look at new vehicles in the auto industry. Look at what's happening in the auto industry with the new things and the technology and the facial rec and everything else. My wife was telling me there's a friend of hers that went traveling in Europe, and she got a bed and breakfast with a car or something. And the gal's like, okay, this is a brand new car. So, so she's like, great, I get to drive around a brand new car. She's driving on the road, getting ready to merge onto the M5 or whatever it is. And she's starting to go, and it starts to go, and then it stops accelerating. She's trying to merge into traffic and it's stopping accelerating. And the thing starts beeping at her and it says, please sit up straight. We can't see your eyes. And she's like, I was short. She's Asian. So she has, the can't see her eyes kind of thing. And she thought maybe that was part of it, or whatever. But the car was trying to see her eyes. It thought she was asleep. And so it stopped her car in the middle of the road. Wouldn't allow it to go far. She's trying to merge. Right? So she had to make sure she sat way up in the seat so that the car could see her. I mean, is that the kind of technology you want to bet your life on? I'm not going to have that in my car. I'll drive an old car before that happens. I definitely am not going to put it on my firearm. And then the story of the day, my friends, we're running out of time here. The story of the day, which it came from Not the Bee, which is ironic because the Babylon Bee is like the thing. The Associated Press warns that muskets are dangerous, unregulated weapons of war. This is it. The musket from 1776 can fire a lead ball at a velocity of 1,000 feet per second. Imagine what that could do to a human body. Yet under federal and most state laws, it's exempt from gun regulations. The what? Weapons of war? Are they? The what? Was it, have they finally realized that the Second Amendment was written exactly in mind with weapons of war? After years of saying that the Second Amendment was written for muskets, the AP suddenly comes out against, yes, you guessed it, muskets. You can have my flintlock when you pry it from my cold, dead hands. But I mean, this is a true story, folks. This is not a joke. This is the story from the AP. They're actually calling for the regulation of muskets because they, because they are weapons of war and they could do damage. Because under most laws, they're CNR, curios and relics, right? They're old firearms. That's just how it is. But here we are going through all this stuff, and the AP is finally saying, hey, we wrote it for the muskets. Don't worry about it. But now muskets are weapons of war and they should be regulated. No, not those the other muskets. Those should be, I guess all muskets should be regulated. I can't with this anymore. All right, we got to go. The Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We got Willie Waffle coming up in just a hot mo. We'll be back with more right after this.
What is that?
Common sense. Regularly heard on American radio. Michael Dukes Show. Radio.
Okay. I see Fred's on the line. Let me drop a link to this article in the Not the Bee because I had to laugh so hard. I had to laugh so hard when I saw this thing going on right here. Fred's on the line. Let's go over here and see what Fred has to say. Good morning, Fred. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, good morning, Michael. Funny thing you should mention the muskets. I mean, I've been saying it for years. The black powder, the black 54 caliber and 60 caliber, firearms. I mean, you talk about devastating power. I mean, that's the most incredible thing going. And being able to get one shot, but when that shot connects, it definitely has some power to it. Some power and energy behind it. But the whole thing with the that whole thing you mentioned as being unregulated. I mean, they basically, it's not the firearm. It's never the firearm. And AP, like I say, the regular, the fake news, in line with the gun control people, they're just pushing it, another narrative, another chip they can make them, can put in the wall. That's all it is. It's just leverage to their own, for their own, nefarious purposes.
Right. Well, I mean, and the thing is, again, how long have they been telling us that, well, the Second Amendment wasn't written for machine guns. It was written for muskets. And now they're like, oh, but muskets are dangerous weapons of war. Wait a second. You can't have it both ways, man.
Well, they're throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks. I mean, they don't care what it is, They have to turn around and, eat their own words and later on and, go another direction. They're going to do it. It's not like their whole game plan is get rid of the Second Amendment and get rid of firearms and end the private ownership of firearms in the country. That's the end game. That's the only game they play.
Right.
Until people realize that is what they're after. That's the real intent of the Moms Demand Action and Bloomberg and Soros and the rest of them. This is what they're after.
Right.
We're not coming after your guns today. But they leave the today part out. That's a silent trailer they never talk about.
Well, but then sometimes they do say the silent part out loud, Fred. That's the other thing. And again, that's when their arrogance shows. I mean, all this arrogance is all built around the idea that somehow we can't be trusted. We can't be, trusted for anything, but definitely not to live our own lives and run our own lives, that they need to be able to do that. And here we are stuck in the spot where they don't want us to be armed because they want to be able to rule us and fear us. And they fear us having the ability to push back or resist in any way.
Well, like I say, it's either stand up now or, either stand up to them now or have to deal with them later. I think we're better off just to kind of stop them in their tracks right now. It'd be a lot easier and in the long run, a lot better off for everybody. So put an end to put an end to their plan right now by exposing them for the liars, cheats, and thieves that they are.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that, again, this is why we have to constantly fight. This is why we have to constantly push back and constantly struggle against it, because if not, they'll just chip away. One day we'll look back and say, what happened? Where did it go?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Like you say, you can never give up the fight. You really can't.
No.
Not until we get some solid ground where we know that the damage they can do can never happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Iran. It's kind of like Iran with a nuclear weapon. He just do something with it or try to clean up the mess after the fact. Who the hell wants to clean up the mess?
Well, we can't grow weary in well-doing. We can never give up the fight. We've got to keep rolling. We've got to keep going on. And, I don't think that I would love to be able to say, hey, eventually we'll win. I don't think that there's an eventually we'll win. I think we have to continue to fight until we pass that fight on to the next generation, because that's human nature. That's the nature of government. That's the nature of people when they group together. And there's always going to be somebody that wants to try and rule somebody else, whether gently rule or tyrannical rule. That's just the nature of human beings. And we need to continue to push back on that. Because that's their nature, and our nature must be to continue to push back on that.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
All right.
Just one quick note before I let you go. Yesterday, I happened to tune in yesterday. I thought yesterday was Friday. I mentioned something about you talking about the interior and part of Alaska and the wildlands out there.
Mm-hmm.
$17 a gallon for heating oil. Is that really?
Oh, it's $17 to $20 a gallon for gasoline. Heating oil,
gasoline.
Gasoline and heating oil could be just as much. Yeah, that's what it looks like when you live in the bush out there, Frank. $10, $20, $15 for a gallon of milk, $20 for a gallon of milk, $20 for a gallon of gasoline. That's what we get out there, for sure.
That is crazy.
It is what it is. Yeah,
I'll never complain about the prices out here after hearing that.
Exactly.
Sure.
All right. Well, hey, thanks, Fred. I got to go. Appreciate you being part of it. Thanks for coming in today. Appreciate you sounding off. All right, folks, we got to get back to it. The Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Okay, weekend time. We're ready. Willie Waffle, our guest, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, in his own mind. Willie Waffle. That was mean. That was kind of mean-spirited of me. I shouldn't have said that. That was, I don't know. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Well, but it's true. I think all of us think that, we've had a better career than we really have. And, we think that more people care than really do.
Right.
Well, that's the only way we get up every morning and keep doing this.
That's right. Everybody knows my name. That's all I'm saying. So it's all good. All right, my friend. Well, let's get started with, we got a lot of entertainment news today. So I know you got something new for me. You can take that where you want. Where do you want to start?
I think we start off with some breaking news.
Okay.
Did you like my breaking news sound?
I was kind of freaked out by it, but hey, it's all okay. Well, okay.
All right. So this week in New York are what they call the television upfront. So for people who don't know that, this is when the networks traditionally are hawking their wares for the new TV season coming up and trying to convince the advertisers that they want to buy commercials. Well, this has now spilled over into streaming as well. And during Amazon's big upfront yesterday, they announced that the talent search for James Bond has been ongoing. They have been auditioning people. They hired a casting director, Nina Gold, who is best known for being an Oscar-nominated casting director, and the woman who got you the cast for things like Game of Thrones and a bunch of Star Wars movies. She's kind of a big deal. And so the big question is, who is auditioned? We don't know. Who's going to get it? We don't know. But here's the thing that I think by hiring Nina Gold as a casting director, I think it lends credence to a theory that's been floating around for a few months. That Denis Villeneuve, who's going to be the director and kind of the keeper of James Bond in the Amazon world, doesn't want to hire a famous person. Like, he wants to go more the Daniel Craig route, where he gets a really good actor that people don't really know, they're not familiar with. Maybe he's only got a couple movies, but will become James Bond. I believe that. So, all this talk about, maybe they've got Jacob Elordi in there, and maybe they've got, who else do you want to name? Tom Hardy in there. No, I think it's going to be someone a little bit more unknown.
Okay. Well, I mean, and they got a lot to pick from. And of course, you can look at Game of Thrones and everything else. They had a lot of kind of unknown actors there.
That became very famous.
Yeah, they become pretty famous. I was going to say Kit Harington, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see where this goes. I'm excited to see the new era of Bond. We just rewatched some of the Daniel Craig ones here recently, and I thought, man, remember when this first came out, Casino Royale, and this was such a shock, this over the top, prime violence. Like, man, this guy, I mean, this was brutal. This is harking back to the Sean Connery days. But anyway, I can't wait to see it. No word yet, but we'll know.
Either. Well, and I still hold a little bit of a grudge against Daniel Craig, not a big one, but a little one, because as I have probably told you the story before, I was in a press conference with Daniel Craig when the rumors were hot and heavy that he was going to be the next James Bond. And, I had nothing to lose. So I just asked him outright, do you have any comment on the fact that you might be the next James Bond? And he looked at me and he looked a little angry and pursed his lips and said, no. And then literally a couple weeks later, he's going down the Thames River in the boat, and they're announcing that he's going to be James Bond.
Man, you almost got killed by James Bond.
I could have had it.
Really?
I could have had the story, though. You imagine what would have happened if he had said yes? That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been great. All right, so new James Bond. What else we got?
Well, we also have, this is a story that I just find very funny. We are getting the Weird Al Yankovic Broadway musical, baby. That's right. It's going to be called Dare to Be Stupid.
Oh, my God.
The Weird Al musical. Yeah, it is being developed by the same people who brought you the Moulin Rouge Broadway musical, the Beetlejuice Broadway musical. And yes, it will feature Weird Al music. I think it could be awesome.
All 40 years.
Here's why I say this. All 40 years. And here's why I think it's going to be good. What is one of the funniest movies I've seen in the past several years? The Weird Al Yankovic biopic that was on Roku.
Oh, man.
Daniel Radcliffe playing Weird Al.
I didn't see that.
It was hilarious.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, God.
I got to say,
you got to check it out.
There's a special place in my heart. When I was in high school, there was an air band competition, and they had a bunch of people up there doing all these popular songs. These are all in the 80s, right? All popular songs. And then my brother, my buddy, and one other guy, two of my buddies and my brother, we all got up there, and we did Weird Al Yankovic, Hooked on Polka. And we and we won the it was great. It was a great time. I love Weird Al Yankovic, so I can't wait to see this.
Now, was Hooked on Polka one of the medley of rock songs set to polka music?
Yeah.
I love those. He had those on every album. They were all fantastic.
Yeah. No, it was one of the Hooked on Polkas, and it was all the current hit songs, all set in a medley set to polka, and it was just hysterical. We're up there in Lederhosen with an accordion, and it was just so funny. All right. What else we got here? Jack Reacher. Ooh, I love me some Reacher.
Yeah.
And he's coming back.
I know you're excited, and you should be.
Yep.
That's right. Jack Reacher, Amazon during this big week, right? The big upfront week announced that there will be a season 5 of Reacher. And this is before season 4 has even started airing, which will be like in the fall at some point. And so they're just stoked. Jack Reacher has been one of the most successful programs that they've had on Amazon Prime. They said the 3rd season is actually the 2nd most watched series in all Amazon Prime history, only beaten by the premiere season of Fallout. And it's so big, they're going to do another one. So and I like the story for season 5.
Yeah.
The story for season 5 is Jack Reacher in New York City. Oh, New York City doesn't know what's in for. But I don't think New York City can handle Jack Reacher. Okay, I've been there. They can't handle it.
No.
They can't handle it.
I love me some Jack Reacher. So that'll be great. That'll be great to watch. And we'll see. But we're going to get season 4 first, so that I'm even more excited about that. So at least 2 more good seasons for Reacher. At least, maybe more. Because Lee Childs has written like 17 or 18, 19 books for Jack Reacher. So we got plenty of seasons in us if we want to. I'm not a huge Fast and Furious fans, but I know that there's a lot of them out there.
This was interesting to me. So Peacock announced that they are doing a Fast and Furious TV series. That's right. If the 11 movies so far haven't been enough for you, if 25 years of Fast and Furious hasn't been enough for you, well, Vin Diesel said, dude, we're bringing you a series.
Man.
And it's going to be on Peacock. Now, they're aiming for 2028, which I think will, right around 2028, I think, because that's when the next sequel comes out. And so, they're going to have this series now that they haven't talked about what it's going to be about. Diesel during the presentation actually said there's going to be like 4 series, and NBC Peacock was like, no, we've only really committed to 1. We've talked about others, but we've only really committed to 1.
Jeez.
So they're trying. Peacock is trying to make this their Marvel universe, their Star Wars universe, their DC universe. They want to bring you all this. So it'll probably be a series about lesser characters, stories off the beaten path, something like that. But yeah, it's on the way. Because nothing beats fast cars, man.
I gotta tell you, I don't think I've seen one Fast and Furious movie. I watched the Sean Hobbs.
Really?
I watched the Sean Hobbs one. That was the
you've seen a Fast and Furious movie.
I guess I've seen that one, but I haven't watched any of the titular Fast and Furious movies themselves. I watched the sequel one or whatever with Jason Statham and Momoa. It was Momoa and Statham. Isn't that who it was? Yeah.
The Rock and Statham.
Rock and Statham. It was the Rock and Statham.
Yeah, the Rock and Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw. Yeah, so I did watch that one. Just because it tripped across it one night. I'm like, okay, and there was nothing else going on until I think Terry was doing something else, and so I'm like, I'll just 2 hours of anyway. I just can't imagine. But again, Vin Diesel, he knows where the money is, I guess. So he's just going to keep pumping that pump.
He does, and when I saw this, there's been a lot of Fast and Furious stuff going on in the news. At the Cannes Film Festival, they're having a special. Did have a special night just the other night to honor the 25th anniversary of the first Fast and Furious movie. And I remember the first Fast and the Furious movie.
Yeah,
it wasn't all that great.
It wasn't great.
And then Fast 2 wasn't all that great. Fast 3 wasn't all that great. But then they turned a corner. Starting with Fast and the Furious 4, they started getting better and better and better. They're actually kind of good now.
Wow. We'll get this perfected on movie 12 or 13. We'll let you know when that's
right. But by 13, we're getting Oscar nominations.
Exactly. All right. Well, we're down to the last 4 minutes or so here. I know you got 3 movies and a mention, so let's get over there.
Well, let's get the mention. I know a lot of the people listening right now are going, I know what I'm doing tonight. It's Friday night. It is the premiere of The Dutton Ranch.
Oh, man.
Yes. It is out, baby. Dutton Ranch, the spinoff of Yellowstone, the sequel to Yellowstone. Now, what they're going to do is you're going to have 2 episodes. They're on Paramount Plus right now, and then they're going to be on the Paramount Network at 8:00 tonight, and then they're going to release 1 episode every Friday until we get into July. And yes, this is the follow-up. This is the one. I think this is the one most of the Yellowstone fans have been waiting for. Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser reviving their characters, coming back, moving to Texas, and they have a new nemesis played by Annette Bening. How awesome is that? That's going to be cool.
Because you always got to have a nemesis. Well, everybody wants Beth and Rip. That was the happily ever after that everybody wanted. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, but we'll know more about this here in the near future for sure. All right, what else we got?
Well, then we also have Off Campus. This is the big Amazon Prime series. This is a series, Mike. This is not made for you and me, my friend. Okay, this is the young adult raunchy rom-com that's got so much eye candy you're gonna get diabetes. Yes, it's the college life with all the beautiful young college people and all their romantic travails. And every season is supposed to focus in on a different couple. And this year's couple is Ella Bright as kind of the hardworking music student. She's got to work 2 jobs and a scholarship just to pay for college. And she might lose the scholarship. Oh, and she's got a crush on a boy who barely knows that she's alive. And she cuts a deal with the hunky superstar hockey player, baby.
The job.
Played by Belmont Camelli. Oh, yeah. And, he needs help passing his test so he can play. She needs help making the boy that she's crushing on jealous. And do you think that maybe as the 2 of them get to know each other, opposites might attract?
This is such a trope. They pretend so hard. They pretend so hard that they fall in love. All right.
Yeah.
-1.
At least it's well done.
Okay.
Trope,
all right.
okay. I'm at 2.5 waffles. It's okay enough. I have a feeling there are other fans out there who are going to love this so much more than you and me.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. I'm okay. All right. We got about just under 2 minutes here. So we got 2 more.
All right, so then we've got Obsession. This is a new movie in theaters. This is actually a really cool horror movie. It's a man who is desperately head over heels crushing on his coworker, and he decides that he gets his hands on this magical item, and he makes a wish that she will fall in love with him more than anything else in the world.
Oh God.
Yeah, and what happens when you make a magic wish? It usually goes badly.
Yeah.
And yes, she becomes completely over the top, massively obsessed with him as she is trapped under his spell. And it's partly dark humor, it's mostly horror movie. I think there's some really interesting kind of intellectual debate stuff going on here about, hey, is she really in love with you if you needed a spell? Don't you feel guilty about what you've done? Oh, and then it goes full on crazy. It gets totally out of hand. I'm at 3 waffles. I think it's very good at times when it gets into more of the creepy stuff rather than a lot of the jump scares. But I'm at 3 waffles. I think you got a decent movie here.
For a horror movie, that's high praise from you. All right. I don't have a lot of time here. I got about 50 seconds. In the Gray with Henry Cavill. Give it to me.
I'm at 2.5 waffles. Cavill and Jake Gyllenhaal and Itza Gonzalez are a team of lawyers and special ops people who, let's just say, do the dirty work to get money from evil people. And they've got a whopper of a case in front of them as they take on this evil despot who owes $1 billion to a capital asset management company. And he's not paying, but they're going to make him.
Okay, and 2.5 waffles though. 2.5. It's okay.
2.5 waffles. Yep.
All right.
It's got some good action. It's a Guy Ritchie movie. I think it's solid.
Yeah. Well, Guy Ritchie. I'd watch Guy Ritchie do commercial. Well, I have watched him do commercials. We're going to talk about that here in the break. Thanks so much for coming in, folks. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. Okay. Like I said, I would watch anything that Guy Ritchie has directed. The first thing I ever saw Guy Ritchie do was they had a bunch of directors do different ads for BMW. Remember that? The Driver with Clive Owen?
I do.
That's like one of the things that catapulted Clive Owen into the spotlight. was that series of ads from BMW, and Guy Ritchie did one at the time. He was married to Madonna, and so she played in this short little commercial. It was a movie. It's a mini 4-minute movie. And it's just hysterical. But that just turned me on to Guy Ritchie, and the guy is just a brilliant director. Tell me a little bit more about In the Gray.
Well, it's a very stylish movie, and I think when Guy Ritchie makes a movie, it's a stylish movie, right? And so Itza Gonzalez is kind of the lawyer who knows how to find all the dirty little secrets.
Right.
She knows how to tear apart all your shell companies and find out where you're hiding that money and what illegal stuff you're doing. So that's why she gets called in on the ugly, ugly stuff. And Gyllenhaal and Cavill are really the enforcers, right? They're the ones who figure out how to stave off all the danger, how to keep her safe, and how to fight these guys who usually have their own armies and their own evil henchmen.
Right.
And so that's what this one is. They're going off to this remote island. This guy has already said, "I'm never giving this company back their $1 billion. Good luck with it." And we watch as she's tearing apart all of their businesses, tearing apart all of his assets, driving him into a corner where he's got to make a deal. And then, well, all deals go bad when you deal with people like this. And that's where Gyllenhaal and Cavill come into play. I think, it's like I said, I think it's got a lot of really good action. I think it's got some dialogue. It's got a little bit of attitude, right? Guy Ritchie's a little bit of a, how do I put this? A little bit of a smart guy, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And, so you got some dialogue that's got some really nice, dark, twisty comic tinges to it, and you've got just a good action film on top of it. I think it's a good film. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's not the greatest. I like that it's very short. It's an hour and 37 minutes, and the reason I say I like that it's short is because it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Right.
How many movies have we seen these days where they just go on and on with twist and twist and twist that we didn't need? Here, we're getting in, we're getting out, we're telling the story we need to tell. I think brevity has some beauty to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm liking to see Henry Cavill in a bunch of different stuff right now. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare and all that. I mean, he's really coming out as one of the newer action stars. Him and Rich Richter, Reacher. They're both doing.
Oh yeah, Richson.
Alan Richson. Yeah, they're doing some real good stuff. So, all right. Well, I look forward to it and seeing it in the theaters. What do we got next week, Willie?
Oh God, next week. It's the Mandalorian and Grogu.
I don't know, man. I think they're starting to overhype this a little bit. I saw some of the trailers and the rushes, and I don't know. People are starting to get a little picky about it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna wait for you to tell me. But
I'm so worried. I'm so worried.
Yeah,
I love the Mandalorian. It's one of my favorite series. They did such a great job with all these characters.
Yeah.
And now they're going to the big screen, and I just think that they're gonna overdo it.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched some of it and I was like, wow, that's kind of hard to believe. Anyway, it'll be interesting to watch Mandalorian and Grogu next week. Willie Waffle, thank you, my friend. As always, it's a pleasure to talk with you. I hope you have a great weekend.
Hey, you too. I'll talk to you next week.
Okay, folks, we'll see you then. Be kind, love one another, live well.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Dukes Show.